right again. Good day to you. It is I, Justin Hawkins. This is Justin Hawkins Rides Again, my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, sign up for the alerts. I'm really excited because I think part of this channel is going to be talking about, the business, the philosophy of music, and, the pitfalls, the trials, the tribulations, and all that stuff. And there's this guy called Dr. Jordan Peterson who discusses music as the antidote to nihilism. I'm not sure if I fully understand even that sentence, but Jordan Peterson is a clinical psychologist. He's a divisive figure. I think that's because if your stance on Jordan Peterson as an individual is thought to reflect your political leanings, but it's nothing to do with why we're talking about him. There's this really interesting interview he did where he was sort of talking about the meaning of music, really. So it could be interesting for those of you who love music. I want to watch it, and I want to consider what he's saying. I'm not sure if I agree with everything that he says in this, actually, but let's talk about it as we go through it. It's pretty long, but we'll break it down.
I became really interested in the reality of evil, and I was very interested in the viability of nihilistic beliefs. Why bother if everything's going to disappear in 100 years? Who cares? Life, it's meaningless. In the final analysis, life is meaningless.
Right.
Okay, well, you can make a credible case for that. Now, it's a upsetting case, because once you accept that, first of all, you're anxious and hurt by it. So that's not so good. And second, it kind of makes you aimless. And that's part of nihilism. It's like, you're anxious and upset, but you're also aimless. Because why bother?
I think what he's talking about is like the function that music serves in the instance of being completely overwhelmed by a nihilistic mortal dread of, the knowing that nothing matters. It's all basically, we haven't got long. So what's the point in feeling anything, or where's the meaning in anything? Nothing means anything. I mean, not everybody lives their life like that for a start. So I don't think you can reduce music to just having that function, really, of comfort or like something shiny for people who have lost all hope to regard and feel things.
So let's think about what music is. First of all, it's a pattern. So non-pattern music is noise. It's a pattern. But then it isn't one pattern. It's multiple patterns layered on top of one another in a harmonious manner, and in a manner that indicates, in some sense, communication between all the patterned layers, because they have to go together. And so, what's the world? Well, the world's made of objects. It's like, no, it's not. It's made of patterns. So music is just like the world, because the world's made of patterns.
I mean, he's talking about like the patterns and, the way harmonic information interacts with itself, really, and the layers of a symphonic arrangement, and how that's supposed to be an allegorical glimpse of all the patterns that occur in life and around us. And I don't think it's just about that, really. I'm sure for some people it would be.
Say, music gives you the intimation of meaning, right, directly. So I used to watch punk rockers. I went to a Ramones concert once, which was really fun. And beneath us, on the stage, sort of, in front of the stage, there was a flat place, and all these punks were down there smashing into each other and doing this really rough dance. And I thought, this is so cool. We got all these nihilistic punks in here, like half beating themselves up, dancing, and being taken in by this rough music that gave them, even in their aggressive nihilism, a sense of meaning. I thought that was so cool. So why does music do that? That's a good question.
Dr. Jordan Peterson is talking about, his experiences of seeing the Ramones and how loud it was, and how he regarded nihilistic punk folk who, I don't know if punks are especially nihilistic. I think they're reactionary. They like to reduce everything. They don't appreciate. I mean, punk music. We've talked about punk before and what it means and the definition of it. I don't think people who go to Ramones concerts and start a mosh pit are necessarily, by definition, nihilists. They could care very deeply. I mean, think about like a punk band that put out an NFT, for example. The rest of the punk community would be like, "What the fuck are you doing? Think about the planet." How can you do that? Because they actually do care. They care about something. Funk isn't defined by nihilism. It's defined by just a taste for, something that's disruptive. It has to be. Doesn't even necessarily have to be anarchy that they're looking for, or even nihilism. It's just the flavor. It's an attitude, and it's also a production technique. It's just a bit rough around the edges, isn't it? I don't think it's about that crushing realization and despair that nothing means anything. It's not about that. Because there's tribalism, isn't there? There's all people who go like, well, you can't say. I mean, they say it to me all the time. Like, you can't. How dare you say that about my favorite guitar player? This band means so much to me. Your band never meant anything to me. They say things like that because they identify with the community that springs up around that band. That doesn't sound like nihilism to me. I think I can appreciate what the Ramones do even before you hear a note of the music. Just that those guys wearing, tight denim jeans, black leather biker jackets. I mean, it's a uniform, isn't it? They're basically in the army. Not in the army now by Status Quo, which is a great record. But they're all in the same. They're all in a part of a team, aren't they, or a gang or something? It's belonging. I'm sure it's belonging, and that's before they've even played a note. And then when they do, it's really iconic. It's another one of those bands like Nirvana where it sounds super simple, but it isn't that easy to do it convincingly. It has to come from the heart. It has to be especial. It has to be legit and authentic, and it has to be the Ramones, really, because that's their thing.
And then music has layered patterns that are all moving together in a harmonious manner. And so what do you do when you hear that, especially if it's got a beat? Well, then you move your body, and you want to, right? The music calls to you to move your body. So now you're moving your body in sync with the patterned layers of the world. Well, that's meaning. And then there's more to it. So that's so cool. Music is an analog of the structure of existence itself. And it calls to you to take part in that. And then, so maybe you dance by yourself, or maybe even better, you dance with someone else.
And of course, if you're a punk and you appreciate that aesthetic, you're going to get down there and you're going to get in the mosh pit, because that's how you show your appreciation to the artists concerned. There's nothing feels better to a person that's playing music than to see somebody dancing to it. And if you're at a gig, it's only polite to dance. It's only polite to move your body. Whether it makes you dance or not, I don't think anybody is sort of involuntarily compelled to dance. They're almost sort of, okay, you do have to push yourself onto the floor sometimes, because people have different personalities. Some people are wallflowers. Some people are constantly on the floor with their handbags down, just going for it. I think if you go to a Ramones gig and you've got a Mohican, you're probably going to be in the mosh pit, because that's what you do. That's what defines you. It's your identity, isn't it?
Oh man, I went to this bar in Nashville. This band was playing Kelly's Heroes, a great guitarist, the best guitarist I've ever seen. And they were playing old country music with a heavy blues rock twist. So they do this great version of Ghost Riders in the Sky. It's 15 minutes long. And this brilliant guitarist just goes way out on a limb. And everybody in the crowd, it was so fun to be there. They're just thrilled to death because they're watching this man doing the same thing that surfers do. He's like dancing on the edge of chaos and order in this virtuosic manner. And everyone is so taken by that it just lifts them out of the normality of their existence. You see this joy just transfuse them. And that's because they got an intimation of genuine meaning. And it's not amenable to rational criticism, which is the thing that I thought that struck me as so miraculous about music, and why it has this element of salvation. It's like it puts you directly in touch with the meaning that sustains you in life, directly.
I think it's really nice to see that Jordan Peterson was moved to tears by the experience of watching what sounded in his description like every band in Nashville that's at those bars on the main strip. There's a lot of really talented musicians in Nashville. A lot of guitarists who do exactly what he described and go out on at the limit of their ability. They're almost falling off the cliff. They probably hit a few bum notes here and there, but ultimately it's really impressive to watch because it's just somebody being a virtuoso and performing at the limits of their ability. But I mean, I don't know, if you spend a lot of time in Nashville and that moves you, you're going to be crying a lot. Music's everywhere, isn't it? We all need it. I think it means more than just an antidote to nihilism. I think it can be like, I think it can give you a glimpse of a totally different life. I mean, it used to be an aspirational pursuit, didn't it? Like, but if you wanted to be a rock star, it's because you wanted to, I don't know, play your music to millions of people, be a figurehead at the front of something that really matters and brings joy to people's hearts. It's a purpose and a calling for those of us that can create it. We're so lucky, It's not an antidote to despair. It's like it's an opportunity to belong. You want to be part of something, and that gives you that, doesn't it? I mean, yeah, we're all going to die. That's obvious. It's just the way it goes, isn't it? I suppose some people aspire to doing music so that they can cryogenically freeze themselves if they make enough money on royalties, they can freeze themselves until there's a cure for everything. Death. Or it's an opportunity to leave behind a glorious legacy of songs that made people happy or made them feel something. It was a soundtrack to all those pitfalls and tribulations that we discussed earlier. Yeah. It does make you feel stuff though, doesn't it? Why do people sing into their hairbrushes, staring into the mirror? It's not an antidote to nihilism. It's because they dream of a different life. It's a window into, I don't know, something that feels obtainable because it's done by human beings. It's not gods, it's not angels. I mean, it's just people expressing stuff.
Music is a very strange art form. I had a great journalist friend of mine. He said to me the other day, he said, all art aspires to the condition of music, which I thought was great.
I mean, I love that expression that he said when he said that all art aspires to the condition of music. I think that's true. Music is the best one. It really is the best one. Because it's that thing of it seems like anybody can do it, but not everybody can or should. So I think it's lovely what he's saying, and it's great to see a person so visibly moved by the concept of music. But I think his frame of reference is limited to one Ramones gig and going to a bar in Nashville. There's way more to it than that. I appreciate the ideas about the patterns and the way the various different layers of a symphonic arrangement interact with one another. And that's before you even get into things like syncopation and odd time signatures and polyrhythms and all this stuff that you hear in other types of music, and even in classical music, the cyclical stuff, the ostinatos, all these things and the way they work. And it is an art, and as such you can't actually quantify it in the way that he's doing it. I don't think there's a formula to any of it, and I don't think you can necessarily argue that there's one thing or another that makes us like stuff. Think about when you have a child, okay? You have a child, and gradually, without any apparent external influence, a child begins to prefer a grape to a banana, or vice versa. Some children like bananas, some of them like grapes, some of them like oranges, some like apples. They start to express preferences and you have no idea where it comes from. Music's just like that. You can love stuff that you were brought up with, or you can, rebel against the people that introduce you to those types of music, and you can listen to something completely different just to spite them. But at the end of the day, the thing that really moves you, nobody can explain why that's happening. It's certainly worth exploring, but I think if you were able to sort of unlock it in that way, then that would be the end of music, because it wouldn't have the magic anymore. Nobody knows why it makes you feel the way it does. I mean, let's face it, if you're standing in a bar in Nashville and you're crying because a guy's doing a guitar solo, you're going to be looking for the meaning in that, especially if the rest of your life has been, you know, especially if you have like this, if you uphold a belief that nihilism is prevalent everywhere and it's what makes people tick, then hearing a guy doing a guitar solo in a bar in Nashville probably will make you cry. Because it is beautiful in its own way. Yeah, sorry about all that. I don't know. Who knows? I don't think ours is not to ponder. It really isn't. Just enjoy music. It's magic. Makes you feel stuff. Gives you a sense of belonging. Gives you an aspirational window into a life that is definitely possible. Ordinary people can achieve amazing things just by having a guitar and believing in themselves. So yeah. Justin Hawkins writes again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, sign up for the alerts and watch one of these 2 videos. Cheers guys. Keep listening.